Vanta is a company that basically automates other companies' security and compliance processes. So the security part is like making sure a company is managing and storing customer data in a way that's like safe.
So a lot of the software we use, right, has all this customer data, it knows so much about us. And we sort of found that when, that there's a data breach or there's a security hack, right, and that data is everywhere, it has like real consequences for people, right? If you think about like Equifax or Target or these big breaches. And so there's just so much scrutiny on whether companies are kind of doing the right thing and securing the customer data they have. And there's kind of rightly a lot of scrutiny on that.
A notable thing about Vanta's investment strategy was Christina, the founder and CEO, worked in venture as her first institutional job out of college, basically. And from that, there are two, lessons that she likes to talk about. One is that companies are the best at raising money when they don't need it. And the other is that it's easy to confuse fundraising success with company product success. And I think she's been really conscious about trying not to fall into those traps. Christina actually waited until Vanta reached 10 million in annual recurring revenue, which is the way Vanta measures revenue because it's a subscription-based company, to raise its first big institutional funding round at Series A. Most companies usually try to raise a Series A when it's 1 million at that metric, so Vanta waited until much later. So that was in May of 2021. They raised 50 million in a Series A led by Sequoia. And then a year later, they announced a Series B in June of 2022. It was an 110 million round led by Craft Ventures, and that round valued the company at $1.6 billion.
So when Vanta launched in 2018, we launched this category of automated compliance, so helping companies get compliant and secure quickly. Since then, we've grown with our customers and now offer a broader trust management platform, but still staying core to helping technology companies secure the customer data they have, and then go demonstrate and prove that they're, have reasonable security to their customers so they can go grow their business. When I was a product manager at Dropbox trying to take a new product to market, and we were really excited about giving the product to big companies, enterprise customers, and then the legal team kind of correctly told us we couldn't do that. We couldn't show that the product was secure and compliant. We thought we had reasonable practices, but we couldn't demonstrate them in the way these enterprises expected. And I didn't know anything about the space, but as more and more I learned, the process itself, or the goal, made sense, right? It's of course we should show we're trustworthy to big customers and do the right thing. But what that scrutiny ends up meaning is these companies have to, one, have reasonable practices, and two, then go through these pretty onerous processes to prove they have good security practices, right? And they're actually securing the data. And historically that was spreadsheets and manual audits, and everything was one-off, which both took a ton of time and effort, and also was pretty inefficient because we were talking about software and we're taking it into pieces of paper almost literally. But companies would still go through it because it was so important to them to show that they were good stewards of customer data, and their customers wanted that, almost before they'd make the purchase, right? So it was such an important thing to prove, and felt, kind of a large problem and an important one to solve, because as someone who builds software, I actually still believe in the transformative power of software, but we can't do that if we don't trust it. I think in the beginning, because we created the category, because we created the product, we didn't have software competition. We truly were the only thing. And so the trick in the kind of sales or go-to-market processes was convincing someone they could rely on software for something they had a bunch of manual processes before. As kind of 2020 and 2021 went on and just more startups got funded, there were more entrants into the space. People sort of copied what we did, took it to market. And I think that just, breeds some amount of resilience. It deeply shows that in software, you're sort of only as good as your last release in a lot of ways. And you may have created the category and brought this new product to market and done this innovation, but If that happened 2 years ago, right, it's much more about, well, what are you doing this quarter, next quarter? How are you continuing to show that you're useful to customers and not sort of resting on the laurels of a prior success? I think waiting until we were 10 million in ARR to raise our Series A instilled a lot of discipline in the company. It forced us to think about, are we doing the right thing? Do we have a good business? Not, does some VC think we have a good business, right? It kind of made it more insular in a helpful way there. I also think it forced some discipline around practices. Like we charge customers annually up front and these like cash flow things that actually helped us not need funding for longer. And in those ways, those sort of smaller decisions helped us build a stronger, more resilient business. And I think finally the answer was like, we didn't need the cash. And again, some of it was things like charging annually up front, but we certainly had problems to solve, but they weren't problems where it felt like it was, more money would solve them. It felt like more money actually might make it more complicated or raise the stakes or do other things. And so, why don't we solve those problems first? And then when we get to the problems where it seems like money can solve them, go pursue investment.
Two things came across really clearly when I was talking to Christina and like her former and current business partners and investors. One is that she's like super scrappy and really prioritizes like product over ego. Like when I was asking her, was Vanta the category creator? She was like visibly uncomfortable. Like, I don't want to like claim credit for this kind of thing. And that's definitely something that carries into like how she runs a business. The other thing is that she's like clearly someone who like will learn anything for the sake of learning it.
So prior to Vanta, I worked at an early stage investment firm, like VC firm in New York, Craft Ventures. I think working at the early stage VC firm and interacting with like seed stage founders, I very much wanted to be one of them and start a company. I didn't quite know in what yet. I got into Beanie Babies when I was like in 4th grade because my mom's family lived in Chicago and they found out about them a little earlier than everyone else. And collected Beanie Babies, still have hundreds of them in my mom's basement, much to her chagrin, and then got to like buying and selling them on eBay, like early eBay, and putting them together in different like groupings and trying to sell them that way, and riding my bike to Kroger, which is like the local grocery store, to get money orders because this was before there were many credit cards in the internet, and I definitely didn't have a credit card at this stage. So I would like go to Kroger and like slide quarters across the counter and get a money order basically to go pay for them. I think one thing from when I was a kid to now is kind of a deep curiosity, and I really do like to learn things for the sake of learning things, sometimes to a fault. As a college student, it meant I changed my major like 12 times. I like couldn't really settle on something. So there's definitely too much, but I think in this role, it's been really helpful because for the first couple years of a quickly growing company, you're sort of doing all of the different roles in a company until you can sort of do them well enough to convince someone who is much more experienced and much better than you to come in and do it better than you were. And going into each of those new roles and being like, well, I didn't know what customer success is, but I'm going to go talk to the people and do the things and learn about it. And figuring out how to have joy in that versus just feeling like it's another hill to climb. I think that curiosity piece has been helpful.